Approach who I'm going to interview, much like I would be casting a narrative film, is I want to have different characters with unique, distinct voices, so each of them brings something a little different to the film. So it isn't just like one boring white-haired scholar after another talking about stuff. So what we wanted were people that knew Coltrane. So that's why Benny Golson and Jimmy Heath and Sonny Rollins were there, so they can speak intimately to what it was like to spend time with him, what he was like as a person, that sort of thing. Then we wanted a few people who could give the historical aspects of the story that we needed. But then I also wanted some people who could talk about how Coltrane inspired them in whatever it is that they do. And lastly, I always like to have some unexpected choices in my films. And so this one was Bill Clinton. We were chasing him for about 10 months. So it's one of the reasons the film was a little bit later to get finished, is that I was holding out hope we were going to get him, and we did. And he wasn't just, oh yeah, you know, I like Coltrane. What you saw up there, no prompting, no anything. He really is passionate about Coltrane, so that was kind of interesting. And then Cornel West was someone, I had initially wanted just a cultural historian to talk about the environment in which Coltrane was raised. But it turns out he knew recording dates, he knew sidemen, he knew studios, he knew producers, and his passion for Coltrane really came out. So the overall effect was what I was hoping for, which is a range of voices that can speak to different aspects of the storytelling.
Let's take some questions from the audience. Raise your hand, and I will call on you way up near the top there.
Hi. First of all, I'm Rochelle from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and he asked one of the questions I had, but the other one, and in the age of Google, it's really silly to ask, but can you talk about finding Fuji-san?
She asked me to talk about finding Fuji-san. Did you like Fuji? Yeah. Okay. Well, part of our concept starting out was I wanted to have stories of real people whose lives had been dramatically, not just I liked him, but dramatically transformed by Coltrane. We shot 4 stories. The other 3, one was very dramatic, very intense, very powerful. One was really interesting, and the other one was very touching your heart. It's the hard choices you have to make sometimes as a filmmaker. There's a quote, I'm paraphrasing now, but something from Francis Ford Coppola, that it's easy to cut the crap, it's harder to cut the scenes that you really sweated blood over. So we had several of these stories, and they'll be on the DVD bonus material, which hopefully you will all get. But Fuji is very well known in Coltrane circles because he has the biggest collection of memorabilia. Record companies come to him looking for stuff when they're going to put out box sets and new vinyl releases and things like that. And so we had communicated with him long distance, because he does live in Osaka, and then we met him when he came to America, and he just charmed us. So Dave Harding, my producer, and I went to Japan, and we spent a week there with Fuji shooting him, and we had so much material that we just couldn't use it all in the film, but as I say, you'll see it in the bonus material. But you ask a really interesting question. What was important to us at the end, because the connection of Coltrane and Peace on Earth and the atom bomb and the survivors in Japan and his special place in his heart for Japan, we wanted, that's a very intense, dramatic story. So we felt, because we're coming to the end of our film, I wanted to introduce a little bit of lightness to it, and Fuji gave that to us.
Okay, who's got a question? Yep, on the aisle there.
This festival every once in a while comes up with a jewel, and this was one of them, and thank you very much.
Yeah, I could handle some more questions like that. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say this was a very important film, and it really did connect a lot of things spiritually as well as music and just bringing people together. So in terms of the DVD and distribution, it's an important film that I want to show to people. So I'm curious about when we'll be able to...
Question is, what happens next with this film?
Thank you. Well, we had the luxury here, because of the deal that was put together, that we could make the film that we wanted to make and then look for the best distribution possible. And so I got to make the film I wanted to make, which is really terrific. people have been tracking us for a while. And as Tom mentioned, we were Telluride, we're here. Tom was sort of a real fan, which was terrific. But the buzz kind of got around, and people started to hear about this, even though they hadn't seen anything. So we've had conversations with some heavy-duty distributors for theatrical. We've had some conversations with TV networks and cable networks and things. So what we're going to do, probably starting this weekend, is have some conversations about what is the best avenue for us to take. As the filmmaker, of course, it's not about the money, although it is for the producers, but for me, I want this to be seen by a lot of people. And I thank you for your comments, but that's our goal really, is what deal makes the most sense. But our feeling is it'll be out next year, probably second or third quarter.